Alright, 'tis another day. I'm changed now because I didn't have any gloves. So I was about to get all gnarly. Work on the transmission. So I'm gonna pull the bevel box off now. And then I'm gonna throw the tranny up there, which looks extremely heavy. The DQ500's gotta be pushing almost 200 pounds. Not looking forward to that. So I will go ahead and pull the bevel box off. BRB. Alrighty, let's remove the valve body now. Pretty sure these are one-time use only, but if you watch my channel, they're good for 5 more uses. Do you not have the torque spec on these? I might supply the torque spec on these. Yeah, my Red Bull! Chances are I won't, but I'll try. Okay. And then I have a pan here, thing catching all the fluids, so be wary of that. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? There we go. You got nowhere to put your mech unit, just go ahead and toss it in the I like to use the oil pan that you just pulled off to put it in there to catch all the fluid. Be careful of this because these like to try to tip over. Alright, now we need to pull these tubes out of here. Now I guess this customer is not going with the upgraded tubes. So, oh, okay. Guess he's not going with the upgraded tubes. I don't see them anywhere. I do not. What I like to use for the bigger ones is these ones you squeeze them, they come apart. You just go ahead and stick them in there. Pretty hard to get out. They like to get churned up a little bit. It's a short tube. generally easy to get out of there. So you shouldn't require something crazy to get them out. But I may have to modify a tool. It's been a while since I've done these. Make sure you check all your O-rings on here if you're going to reuse these. You didn't tear any on the way out. Give them a nice good look. One more left. This is what you're left with, and these tubey tubes. I'm gonna put these to the side. These are cleaned up before they go back in. Go ahead and give this an extra tip because you're gonna lose a lot of fluid once you pull the clutch cover off. Clutch cover now. What you're going to do, just like the DQ500s, locate the edge of your big snap ring in here, which is right here at the top here. So what I went ahead did with the screwdriver, I just stuck it on this lip, pulled it down, put my pick behind it, and just pulled it straight out. Okay, now you can get your clutch cover off. Actually, didn't have any of those either. Be very careful. You can reuse these. You just got to be careful, and you also need an install tool. Leaving? Okay. Okay, now you're exposed to your clutches. What you're gonna do, same thing. If you want, you can mark all these if you want, or whatever. You don't have to. Same thing, same type of clamp. Big one. Not the same size as the other one, so you don't have to worry about mixing it up. You can go ahead and go through this hole right here and grab each of these to help you get it off. There actually is a mark here, so I'll show you the mark. So there is a mark, so I'm going to turn this to 12 o'clock, so I remember. And there is a dark gray, so this one right here, and this right here, line up with the dark gray here. So you'll see a dark gray spot also on your clutches. Now we need to pull this center clip off, where these come super handy, so if you don't have these are Snap-on SRP2As. I use these all the time for this. You just got to get in here, get this clipper off here. So you pull the clip off. The clip does not have a direction like most do. It's not, some automatic transmissions, the clips go specific ways. And now that you got that off, you can pull your whole clutch packs out. And for the part that I was talking about here, it's hard to tell on the camera, but there's a dark spot right here. And that's where that front clutch plate lined up with. Okay, now it's just a matter of getting all this stuff out of the way. I believe it's been a while since I've done these. I'm gonna take this guard out of here. Deflector. Sorry, this is just a fluid deflector. And then, what else? I have to take this gear off of here. So that this gear also has a super tiny clip on it. Let me get you up in here. Take the pump gear off. Because you gotta pull the front casing off, so I'm trying not to lose this tiny little clip. Tiny clip. Mucho tinyo. Pull this gear off now. The gear goes on. Gear, pump gear. Okay, shaft stays in. It's not like the DQ500s. I believe I can't pull that out, so that has to come off because you cannot. Let me make sure that this doesn't come off either so we don't lose it. That appears to stay on. So now you need to take off all your bolts. So you have all these ones inside here. Well, kind of inside here. So we have these ones, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then all of the ones around the case. I highly recommend, because these are aluminum, or some are aluminum. At least they used to be. I can tell you in 5 seconds. Hold on. Too big. It's a 10mm triple square. Lost my extension. It's on the end of my gun. The ratchet. They made these better than the DQ250s. I feel like we're super shallow and super easy to strip. But I always take these off with, oh, these are steel. So you can actually do this with a gun if you want. I prefer hand because I don't trust these. We have quite a bit of bolts here to take off. Pan out of my way so I don't knock it off over. Ruin my whole day. So I got all the ones on the front. If you turn it around, okay, this might be different. It's been a while since I've done the 500. Okay, yeah. So you got some going from the back side. Got one here, and here, and all the way down here. So there are three, nope, there's one through this transmission hole. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like there was 5. And then also keep, this is a seal that I'm going to talk about later. When you're putting your differential in, you're going to need a guide for this because you're going to damage that seal. But I think he got a new one. So if you don't got a new one, which I highly recommend you get a new one, because it's much easier just to pop this seal out and deal with it than I'll talk about it later. But just pop that seal out once you get the cases apart, because it's much easier to stick a screwdriver in there. How many magnets do I use? I believe all the ones holding the case together are all the same size, but the ones facing from the back side are 3 inches. Well, 3 and a little over an eighth, so 3/16. 3 and 3/16 for these ones. I got 4 of them. Just make sure I got all of them, because you don't want to forget one and then beating the shit out of the transmission, wondering why it's not coming apart, and it's because you forgot a bolt. See, it looks like 4. Okay, around. Two, 3, 4, 5. These two, the very top one is long and the very bottom one is long. Those are short, all the same size. You can see the silicone on there from them. And then these two, the long ones are also the same size as the ones on the outside, so don't be too concerned about mixing those up. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of them off. Yeah, so all the ones on the top and a couple on the sides are short. Now the bottom ones are starting to get long. Back here, those are long. All the long ones are the same length. So you don't have to worry about mixing those up. Couple on the bottom are short. Okay, now go around and make sure you got all of your bolts. Alright, now is where you're going to make a huge mess. Because when you're going to split this transmission, it's just going to leak everywhere. I'm not cleaning on this or something. It's filthy. Now you can tilt it this right up or whatever, but to take this off, and it just makes it a little harder. So what I do with this, just come over with a mallet. So you hear that hollow sound? It usually means you got all the bolts. Like I said, don't beat the bejesus out of it if it ain't moving, because sometimes you didn't actually get them all.
Alright, guys.
Who were you on the phone with? See, I forgot one bolt. Talking to my camera.
You making a video?
Yeah. So I'm gonna do this unorthodoxly. So usually I'd measure the end play and all this, but they didn't get me bearings or shims, which kind of sucks. But you absolutely, I've heard that multiple people tell me that the DQ500 doesn't have to be shimmed, which, I mean, I trust Wavetrac. You know, their specs, it's gotta be damn near the same. But if you don't know and you're not absolutely sure, you can pull the differential out, pull your lower bearing out with the bearing puller. So this one actually measures about 3 1/4 on the bottom. So you need a puller that measures about 3 1/4. So. Type of puller you would need. I borrowed this one from work. Don't tell him. There's a part number 000 589 34 33 00. I don't know if you can get that. It's made by Kuko. Japanese company, or they're German. I don't remember. So what happens is you put this down here, you expand it, you open it up. Which actually I think I have to get the bigger one because this is even bigger than the 250s. And then you would pull your bearing out, swap your gear over to your new diff, and then push the bearing back in, or hammer back in, or however you're gonna do it. And then with the new one, hold on, let me think back. If you want to know the preload, sorry, this is if you want to know the preload. So you would take it out, the shim out, put your stock one back in, bolt it back together, measure your preload with your total. So you'd measure with the dial indicator, you would measure, so you'd zero it out and you would have it on top of, through an axle hole on here, push up on it, you get your total measurement. This thing is kind of a piece of poo-poo now. You get your total measurement, write that down, put it in, put your shim back in. I'm thinking here. Brain fart, hold on. All right. Take 100 of preload. So if you don't know what preload is, that's what the manual transmissions, the DSGs, the TQ250s that I typically do. I add preload of 0.025 millimeters to the overall thickness of whatever I measured. So what you do to get on the 500, which they didn't give me shims, and I've done one without doing reshimming the race, and I never had any issues. Whoever the customer told me that it doesn't need it, so I was like, okay, doesn't need it. And this particular company didn't provide me with any shims or bearings. So one thing I am gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to press these bearings. So you are gonna need to press, obviously, this is the stock one, to press these bearings off. So to get your preload, if you're unsure of what it is, you take your bearing race that has the shim in it. In this case, it looks like there's a pretty hefty one on the lower case half where the gears live. So you take that, you measure that. That measures at let's say 0.9, or let's say 1 millimeter thickness. It's pretty thick. It might even be 1 mil. So you take that out, measure it, got 1 mil. Put your diff back in, bolt the case back on, take your dial indicator, metric or standard. I have metric and standard. Measure your push up on it. Wow. So then it'll be on the gear here. So you'll be pushing up on this. This differential will move up and down. You'll get your measurement, which will be less than what you measured from the shim. So the shim will be 1, your preload or your up and down movement will be 9. So you know that, you know, it's not gonna be this much. It's not gonna be a whole tenth, I guess, right? So 0.1, it wouldn't be a 0.1. That's way too big of a preload. It'd be 0.00 something, or 0.025 is a typical one that you measure. So you get 1 millimeter is your shim, 0.9 is your actual measurement with your dial indicator, and you know that your preload is 0.1. So if that makes any sense at all. So you have to write this all down because they're not going to be anywhere near those numbers. That's just an example. So the measurement that you receive from pushing your diff up and down will be less than the thickness of your shim, because your shim has that included preload in it. And that's how you find out your preload of your differential. Now this will be the second one that I've done without doing that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zip the gear off this differential here. This gear, I'm gonna zip this off and then take this to work. I gotta press the bearings off. Unfortunately, don't mix them up. I'm not sure if they are up and down. That's on all the other ones they are. So I'm gonna pull the gear off and then I'm gonna take it to work and pull these off because they didn't give me new bearings. Shouldn't be a problem. These are 18 millimeter. So let me find a battery. Okay. Okay. Goodbye. Okay, I lied. This one is nothing like the DQ500s or the 09, whatever, OQ, whatever. So the bearing actually, I don't even remember this at all. I don't know how I don't remember this. So the bearing actually stays on here. So the gears, so you have your ring gear, and I'm going to take all these out. I'm going to clean all these up, clean all these threads out, and then apply a thread lock to them. But they definitely felt like it. They had thread lock on them. But I don't see any. They are locking with the serrated one. So I'm gonna clean all these off, apply a little bit of blue Loctite, and then throw that back together. So the way that this one looks, so this is how after you unbolt the ring gear, this is how this one looks. Just like this. You have the inside. But mine is missing this piece. So you'll have this piece that'll stay with the shim here. You don't use any of this. So this is how it lived in here. This is an open differential. So that'll go there. And this will go to the side. I do still need to press the bearing off the upper half, but I will be able to drop my dial indicator. Bolt this out. Do not take these bolts out of this thing here. This is actually super easy. I think, I don't know. The hardest part for me, honestly, was putting the damn transmission on the bench. So, after I clean all these up, I'm gonna go ahead and zip those in. And when I have this, I'm probably gonna take this to work and torque these because my bench will flip over trying to torque these, which I will get the fancy. To give you this factory fill, blah blah blah. Yeah, there's no torque spec because you're not supposed to take these apart. I don't think Audi. I'll do some research on that. I think the old ones were around 80 foot-pounds when you use it with the bolts they supply on the other one. It just says, yeah, you got to switch to a different gear oil. Use the incorrect gear oil, it's gonna be avoided. So, all right, that pretty much wraps that up. So yeah, you're gonna have to just clamp this into a vise. I just clamp it like this. You can use blocks of wood or whatever, and then that'll get you. Because those bolts coming off didn't feel like, I mean, maybe 100 foot-pounds. So I'll go to whatever feels right. I'm gonna probably go around 80 to 90 foot-pounds of torque once I bolt this back together. But I'm gonna clean all the threads off and apply a little Loctite. All right, so I'm gonna throw these back together. I tilted this and drained it into some rags because when you flip it over, after you put your sealant on, you do not want it to spill onto your sealant. There's one O-ring right here. This O-ring's still good, sticking over the top. So my sealant path will be, alright, so my sealant path will be just a basic one inside the bolts. I did notice that this one over here, you can't see it. This one right here had sealant around it, so I guess I'll stick more sealant around it. Not really sure why. Because it just goes down to nowhere. This is very random, and then where this bolt lines up here, oh, okay, so yeah, so where it bolts to on the casing actually goes through to the outside of the transmission, so you for sure want sealant on that one. So I just got my ultra black RTV, my go-to RTV, and then I'm just gonna lay it down. I can't see. Air bubble. Getting air bubbles in here. This is normally pretty thick bead, thicker than I usually would do. Alright, let's see what about these ones. Next thing on the outside of these, so I'm just going to go around the inside. It shouldn't matter. Okay. And that one's, here's the O-ring lands there. One thing I did do is the axle seal here. So, sorry, the axle seal on the bottom of the transmission, I took that out before I put the diff in, because at the bottom of it looks like this, and it's backwards when you put the diff in. So what it likes to do is grab this seal and ruin it. So it's super easy. Not even if you're reusing it, you can just knock it out and then knock it back in. So that one's knocked out. They got a new one. There's also a new one here, which is easier to just knock it out here since I'm here. So I'll grab a hammer. I mean, it's super easy. It's just knock that one out too. Make sure you're good to go. Make sure you got no arc sealant hanging out on any of your ledges here. O-ring's good here. Just double check everything. Make sure you're good, and then go ahead and stab it. Oh, this is lighter than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, shit. Finger hit some sealant there. Go ahead and glue some on there. Alright, start laying in the bolts here. So I don't have torque specs on these still, so I'm guessing since they're steel bolts, I'm guessing they're not very tight. So just make sure you put the long ones where the long ones. It's pretty obvious once you put them where they're supposed to go. Short ones go in the middle here. Turbo diesel Jetta. Okey doke. Long, long, short, long, long, short. Good view here. One thing on these when you initially road test them, probably for the first... Alright, before I run out of storage on this thing, I got tons of content I need to freaking transfer over. So yeah, the first road test that you do on this, the differential is going to make like usually a pretty bad whine. You notice it and then all of a sudden it's gone. I noticed that when I do the Wavetracs that once they fill with fluid, the noise goes away. I don't know about I can't remember with DSGs, but I know for manuals, it does it every time and freaks people out. They're like, oh, let's go for a first drive. And it goes, whee, makes this whine. You can't even turn this thing, it's so hard. But yeah, that's just one thing to keep track of. Note of when you first drive it, it's gonna make a whine noise. It's gonna scare you. Yep. We're gonna throw our pump gear back on. Get your tiny little thingy, little clip. Okay, put that on. Put this in. This back in. Okey-doke. If you want to help with your clutch packs a little bit, get them in there. Just try to put the front of the transmission on something a little taller. Yoke. Get your clutches. Put them in here. Go. Make sure you don't pull the centerpiece out. So when you pick it up, use pressure here while holding the back to keep that like that. Then get your clippy here. Where my installer went. These are taken out. These. And then don't forget about your gray mark. That'll be somewhere here. It's really hard to see. I think this is it right here. And then case cover. Find your gray mark here, which is this. Line them up. Oh, there. I messed up. That's over here. So sometimes it can be a pain in the butt to get this ring back in, so definitely get ready for that. Go tap that into place. This doesn't have a position. That's the wrong one. This one does not have a position. Screwdriver here on the ring. Make sure it's seated all the way. Oh, okay. Alright, make sure that this is still in all the way. And you kind of got to pull the back side of the casing out while this is in to help get you in there. You can just get in there. Once you get the lip started, you can get in there with a screwdriver and start doing this, walking it in around the way. So that's all I'm gonna be doing. So this thing keeps trying to fight me. It's not cool. Once you get one. Alright, so these are really tight, these rings, compared to the DQ500s. So what I did was, once I seated the beginning of the opening, is what I started with. I see that there. So the opening where the ring comes together, I got those seated, and then I just went around and started tapping on this plate, and then pushing this in with the screwdriver as I went, get it seated in there. Walk your screwdriver all the way around and ram the ring in there until it gets seated all the way. You don't want that bad girl popping off. A little unorthodox little beating, but it didn't do anything to this plate. As good as it knew. But yeah, then you just go around and make sure that this ring is fully out into those. That's that. Then, same thing here. There is an installation tool here. So what you will need is the soda can or the tool. So let me grab the tool. Okay, actually have a couple of these. That one don't fit. That one don't fit. If you get a new clutch pack, I know I have a 500 here somewhere. If you get a new cover, it usually comes with a seal in it to hold it. So I'm gonna have to go journey around and look for that tool. Well, I'm just gonna make my own since I can't find it. So let's get a measurement here. Nice, doesn't fit in there. That's it. 55 here. How thick is this? 1.5 mil. So I will make a cone, YRB. So I went ahead and I just made this on Fusion and I just used it to install this seal. So I will upload this file to the, I had to use pliers to get it out, but I will upload the file to, or you know, I'll upload the thingy first and I'll put the link down below. That's it. After you get the seal that on, just put your clip back in and your transmission is done. Okay, bye.